In a close corporation, or a company owned by a few individuals, shareholders have a fiduciary duty to deal fairly, honestly, and openly with the corporation and fellow shareholders. In the 1989 case Ingle v. Glamore Motor Sales, the New York Court of Appeals considered whether a minority shareholder was owed a fiduciary duty against being discharged from his employment in the corporation. Glamore Motor Sales, a New York corporation engaged in the sale of automobiles, was owned by its sole shareholder, James Glamore. In 1964, Phillip Ingle sought to purchase an equity interest in the corporation, but Glamore refused and instead hired Ingle as sales manager. At the time, there was no agreement establishing the duration or conditions of Ingle's employment. 2 years later, Glamore and Ingle entered into a shareholders agreement which provided that Ingle would purchase 22 of Glamore's 100 shares in the corporation. The agreement also provided that Ingle would have an option to purchase an additional 18 shares and that Glamore would nominate and vote him in as director and secretary. Ingle later purchased the additional shares, and the parties entered into a second agreement. In 1982, the corporation issued 60 new shares. Glamore purchased 22 of the shares, and his two sons each purchased 19. Following the purchase, Glamore, Ingle, and the two sons entered into a third agreement. Under the agreement, in the event that a shareholder was discharged as an employee of the corporation, Glamore had the option to purchase all of the shareholders' shares. In 1983, at a special board meeting, Ingle was voted out as director and discharged from his job as manager. Glamore then notified Ingle that he was exercising his option to purchase his shares and paid Ingle $96,000 for his 40 shares in the corporation. Subsequently, Ingle sued the corporation in New York Supreme Court, challenging his termination. Specifically, Ingle argued that as a minority shareholder of a close corporation, the corporation owed him a fiduciary duty not to discharge him. In response, the corporation moved for summary judgment, claiming it was entitled to judgment as a matter of law, which the court granted. Ingle appealed, and the New York Supreme Court Appellate Division affirmed. Ingle then appealed to the New York Court of Appeals.